Verma, national spokesperson of the BJP. You will have to be patient with me. I'll come to you only in the next 10 minutes or so. You'll understand why. Vijay Sardana is a senior economist. I believe he is not with us right now. He will be joining us as and when he does. David Sofair is a Republican strategist. He's joining us on the broadcast. And Brijesh Kalappa, good evening to you. Spokesperson, national spokesperson of the Congress Party. Thank you very much. David Sofair, thank you for your time here on Times Now. I don't mean to be disrespectful. And I don't want to take something of geopolitical importance with any, I don't want to qualify it with any frivolous comment about Mr. Trump. But David, I do need to ask you why Mr. Trump is so hell-bent on ruining his relationship with India. It's a relationship that has weathered many a storm. Why this bullying? Why these pressure tactics? We are already negotiating. Then why threaten us with 100% tariffs?
Well, thank you very much for having me, Isha, and it's great to be on. First of all, when it comes to these tariffs, that's exactly what it is. It is a negotiation tactic. Now, we all know that Russian oil is not a great idea, and that was not part of the scope when it came time to our trade deal that we made that deal. And we have also imposed reciprocal tariffs with other countries as well as we make the American Fair Trade Initiative. So during this initiative, we have lots of tools in our toolbox, but I really don't see this, and the administration doesn't see this, in my view, as being a long-term thing. We are looking to find viable solutions with our trading partners, and India is a huge trading partner. You guys are the biggest democracy in the world. Our history is strong. I really appreciate how you opened up this segment and panel with your points, and I, quite agree with your concerns. And what you're saying does make sense. Now, with that being said, America and in this administration does play hardball. And the idea that we are cozying up to the Russians is not the case. We are giving them a very, very hard time. We are looking through strength, really in the region. And, so this is an unfortunate thing. I think there is a solution in play. I think that solution will happen fast. And I don't really see 100% tariff happening. Now, if that does happen, it would be a lose-lose.
David, can I quickly interrupt and ask you this? Playing hardball is one thing. Bullying is quite another thing. And there is something called hypocrisy as well. Now, India's External Affairs Ministry has come out with a 6-point rebuttal. The crux essentially is this. America has a problem with India buying Russian oil. Is Russian oil sanctioned, first of all? It's not. Venezuelan oil is sanctioned.
They're sanctioned.
Right? Iranian oil is sanctioned. But there is nothing illegal about buying Russian oil. We are not breaking any international trade rules, number one. Number two, David, the President of America today was asked how it is okay for them to criticize and try and put tariffs on India for buying Russian oil, but it's absolutely okay for the United States to do business and trade with Russia. You are, after all, buying uranium for your nuclear plants from Russia. You're buying chemicals from Russia. You're buying fertilizers from Russia. Isn't that hypocrisy and doublespeak, sir?
So we've not seen those contracts. And so, like what President Trump was saying, we need to, get more information on that, because we don't know anything about that actual thing. So we don't know about those contracts. That's for sure. But what I will say is that, our friends, the Europeans in the EU, are doing a lot of double dealing when it comes to Russian oil, and when it comes to not paying our good friends, the Ukrainians. So that is a separate matter, of course. But, Russian oil, everybody loses. Who wins out of there is China and Russia. So I hope that America will be able to come to an agreement with India, and I hope that we will not.
I hope so too, because we were amongst the first movers. Sanju Verma, just come in here. India was amongst the first movers. We were
Well,
the
we
first
have
ones to come to the table and say, okay, let's get a trade deal going. You have some concerns. Let's try and sit and address them together. You have frozen whatever sanctions you had on China, which is the largest buyer of Russian oil. But Mr. Trump wants to impose additional tariffs on us.
Well,
Shreya, as you can see, I've been very patient. And, now let me come in with a very pointed rebuttal. Though I think through your pointed questions, you've exposed the hypocrisy of the United States of America. My limited point is this. The US has had comprehensive sanctions against Iran since 1979. And guess what? US did trade worth $1.5 billion last year with Iran exporting agriculture related products and medical devices. The US has had comprehensive sanctions against Venezuela since 2006. And guess what? The US did $11 billion worth of trade with Venezuela last year, exporting plastics and soybean oil and gasoline to Venezuela. But more importantly, I was shocked to find this out, Shreya, while doing homework for your show. The United States of America has had sanctions against North Korea since 1950. And you will be surprised to know, while the US has a bilateral trade to the tune of $240 billion with South Korea, which it did last year, it also did $24 billion worth of trade with North Korea. But the most important point is this. We are all aware, anyone who has an IQ of more than 50 knows that the US and Vietnam have no love lost for each other. Now, while the US does trade worth $700 billion with China, and China and Vietnam are at loggerheads with each other, the US also last year did $110 billion worth of trade with Vietnam. So the US can tango with China and with Vietnam. The US can tango with Iran and with Venezuela despite sanctions. And most importantly, my final point, these are the US companies which operate in Russia. Pepsi, Mars, Cargill, Procter & Gamble, Philip Morris, Coca-Cola, Subway, TGI Fridays, Tom Ford, Zimmer, Tupperware, Stryker, ExxonMobil, Chevron, and ConocoPhillips. So I would like to ask the Trump dispensation, if Chevron can function in Russia, if one of the biggest American companies, ExxonMobil, can continue to work in Russia, if ConocoPhillips can continue to operate in Russia, Procter & Gamble can operate, then why on earth can India not trade with Russia?
David?
I mean, this is hypocrisy at its worst.
David?
First of all, I appreciate some of your statements, but I found the first part of it very misleading and unfounded. So we'd have to check those sources and those contracts. So I don't know where you've found a lot of that information in regards to Venezuela and Iran. Now, with that being said, moving forward, I don't see this as a long-term play. I see this as getting cleaned up fast. So, the last country India needs to be in loggerheads with is the US, okay?
We didn't start this fight, David.
Well,
we came to the table first.
At the end of the day, if tariffs are so bad, no, you kind of did. Because at the end of the day, we didn't have any tariffs against you, our good friends, the Indians. So if tariffs are so bad, why did you have so many with the United States of America? So this is the American Fair Trade Initiative that is strengthening our country. And it's
how is it fair? Look at your partners and your best friend, the European Union, who keeps censuring India for buying oil from Russia. Who's the number one buyer of Russian gas? The EU.
Not America.
The EU, number one buyer of Russian gas, right?
Germany, obviously.
European Union's trade with Russia far exceeds India's trade with Russia. So you are hypocritical, your friends are hypocritical as well, sir.
No, they're not. I mean, when it comes to the EU, I agree. They are hypocritical, they're double dealers. There's no bigger ally of the Russians than our friends, the Europeans. Okay? So the Europeans are doing big trade with Russia. They've emboldened Putin in a huge way. Whether that's that's
David,
happening.
Today you have ducked many of our questions quite in the same tone as President Donald Trump did today. I don't know about this. I'll have to get back to you. So for every information and
I
every
don't know where
logic
you
we
come
are
up with
presenting
these,
to you, you're
contracts.
coming back with, I'm
Sound a
not
lot
sure what your
up in the air.
source is.
So I find your sources. I mean, I don't know where you come up with your sources about America's trade with Iran and North Korea and South Korea. So I don't know where you found this info and intel, and I'd like to see copies of those contracts. So I don't know what we don't really know about that.
We'll wait and watch to see what President Trump does today once he wakes up. We'll just have to wait and watch. You are saying